People, it's happened again. Another No Jumper host has been arrested, and this time it's for murder. Over recent years, No Jumper has developed a reputation as a pipeline that takes figures from the gangbanging world of the LA streets to being entertainers, podcasters, and rappers. But unfortunately, as we see time and time again, not everybody makes it to the promised land of podcast glory. In fact, over the past few years, an unsettling number of hosts, affiliates, and regular faces connected to No Jumper have ended up tied to serious criminal cases. This has created endless rumors online, with people making ridiculous claims that real law enforcement, the FBI, the ATF, the CIA must be heavily monitoring or even are the ones operating the No Jumper podcast studio, with many people pushing the wild theory that the owner, Adam22, might just be a full-blown federal agent. Anyway, there's no real evidence that ties No Jumper to the feds. That's just the reality of hosting and offering opportunities to so many figures that have got ties to the real-life streets and gangs. But unfortunately, the accusations that No Jumper is the feds is not going to be helped by the recent news that a fan-favorite host from this new generation of street figures on the mic, Ant Jefe, real name Maurice Shellman, was just taken into custody by LAPD's Robbery Homicide Division on felony murder charges and initially set a hefty $1 million bail. But apparently that wasn't even enough, and records later showed that after a hearing, his bail had increased to over $2 million, which could potentially point to prosecutors having access to evidence that's particularly damaging for Ant Jefe's case. But what's been happening in the courtroom is just one small aspect of this case, because while the lawyers haven't really said much yet, the streets of LA have definitely been talking. And despite many people throwing out false theories of exactly what had gone down in the murder that Ant was charged with, now that the dust has settled and the truth's coming out about the situation, we're seeing signs that there might be serious internal tensions within the Ant Gangster Crips, the infamous LA gang that Ant Jefe has publicly claimed allegiance to. So after seeing the news of his arrest, we decided to dig a bit deeper and found out that there might be something much more going on here than just a typical murder investigation. Content warning. This video is about a sensitive topic involving loss of life. We've removed any graphic content to comply with YouTube's guidelines. We aim to provide informative, factual journalism on a tragic event in the public interest that does not dismiss its seriousness. All clips are used under the doctrine of fair use for news reporting and analysis. Some points made in this video are opinions and theories. I am not responsible for third-party information. If you want to watch my videos uncut and extended, go to patreon.com/traplawross, where you can get those for just $2. Also, you can now watch my new drops on Spotify, so go search me there. Here's the video. If you're not tapped into LA street politics or the city's underground rap scene, there's a good chance you might not have heard of Ant Jefe. But to those that are familiar with that world, he's someone that built a reputation in the streets long before most people knew his name in the podcast world. Born in May 1990, Ant Jefe, real name Maurice Shellman, grew up in LA's infamous South Central, the area where gangs like the Crips and Bloods first laid their foundations, and where much of Los Angeles' gang culture still remains concentrated to this very day. Ant's early years were shaped by an out-of-control homicide rate in Los Angeles that was roughly 4 to 5 times higher than it is today, and it was this crazy and dangerous environment in LA that Ant grew up in. South Central was the epicenter for much of the violence going on in the city, but according to Ant himself, beyond just the geography, another big influence that pushed him towards the streets was his own father, whose strict and aggressive parenting style apparently caused Ant to rebel and eventually join a gang out of resentment.
So what led me to the streets is my father. So I had both parents in the house. You know what I'm saying? I had my mother and my father. But you know, my father, he got Texas roots. You know what I'm saying? He came down here to California like in the early 60s. You know what I'm saying? He came down here to California, you feel me? So my father was like a real discipline. So like coming up, my father used to whoop my ass. Like I used to get a whooping like with anything. Like I get a with belts, switches, weight belt. Like, you know, my father had a real like low tolerance, you feel me? He was real strict. So, you know, I wasn't used to that. You feel me? I wasn't seeing other people's parents and the people who did have their fathers around, I wasn't seeing their fathers like acting like that. So like I started like feeling like that was abuse. So at that young age, I start formatting in my mind that, you know, he don't like me or like he got something against me. So, you know, with all of my as I started to rebel against him, and me rebelling against him led me to the streets.
The gang that Ant eventually joined was the infamous Ant Gangster Crips, also known as 83GC, or these days often referred to as ETG or Ant Gangsters. Over the years, the Ant has grown into one of the most influential gangs in Los Angeles, with a territory that's also considered to be among the largest in the entire city. After joining the Ant Gangster Crips, Ant would be a teenage terror in South Central, repeatedly having run-ins with the law and spending stretches inside juvenile hall.
Man, I did it like you know what I'm saying? I did everything you could do out over the street. So it's just like, so, you know, was in and out of jail, you know what I'm saying? I was going to school. Every time I got out of jail, I was in school. I was in and out of jail. So juvenile hall, I did every juvenile hall. I've been in Los Padrinos Juvenile Hall, Sillmore Juvenile Hall, Central Juvenile Hall. I did 4 camp programs. I was in Malibu. If you've seen the movie Gridiron Gang,
I haven't.
With the Rock and Exhibit. So
okay.
boom, that's a camp out there, Malibu. That's a sports camp. I was in there. I was like, my whole time, like as an adolescent, it was just, back and forth, you know what I'm saying, in and out of jail. Being from A-Tray, from gangbanging and stuff like that, catching cases, whether it be a gun case, me, a stolen car.
But when Ant was around 18 years old in 2008, he would end up jumping into the deep end of the streets, and he became part of a massive interstate drug trafficking operation with other members of the A-Tray gangster Crips. And these guys weren't just moving any drugs. Ant was ahead of his time, and he was supplying the kind of drugs that today's rappers would probably spend their whole advances trying to get their hands on, because they were moving oxys, the real OxyContin pills, not the fent-pressed counterfeit pills that are flooding the streets of LA today. So this crack team of A-Tray traffickers would move these pills from LA to Spokane, in Washington, a nearly 20-hour drive north. But unfortunately for Ant, this highly profitable pill smuggling operation would eventually come to an end in 2013 when they got busted by the feds. And by the time authorities were done rounding everyone up, the case had bloomed into something so massive it reportedly overwhelmed the court system itself. And eventually, the whole case grew to include a staggering 62 defendants. One of them was then 22-year-old Ant Jefe, real name Maurice Shellman, although interestingly the court documents listed his middle name in that case as Keon Gray rather than Keandre, which appears in his most recent arrest record. But anyway, this was him, and Ant was charged with 2 counts in this sprawling 32-count indictment, which prosecuted the A-Tray members for trafficking and distributing these OxyContin pills. In December of 2014, Ant would ultimately accept a plea deal from prosecutors, pleading guilty to count 2 in exchange for the remaining counts being dropped. But this would still lead him to receive a crushing 120-month or 10-year sentence in federal penitentiary. Clearly, fighting serious charges and doing serious time isn't anything new for Ant Jefe, and he would sit down and take that bid with dignity. Eventually, towards the end of his sentence in November of 2021, Ant would be moved away from the prison to a halfway house in Los Angeles, where he would end up leaving the facility without permission, removing his ankle monitor and going on the run. And he spent several months on the lam before finally being captured in Nevada in May 2022. But despite this rather wild move, the charge of escape from federal custody was eventually dropped by the prosecution. Later, Ant would explain why he took off during a No Jumper interview, saying that the staff at the halfway house were trying to do him dirty only 30 days before he was supposed to be freed.
Every day people bringing me clothes, shoes, I'm in there with Jerry and they see him in here with bust down diamonds, shit. They looking like it started discouraging the staff, so I started getting into it with them. So from there, they put me on a ankle monitor, let me go home. I go home, so I was going in there to drug test. So like 30 days before I got off the ankle monitor, they do some weird. I go in there to piss on a Tuesday and go back to piss on a Thursday. So they try to tell me my Tuesday piss was good, but my Thursday piss was dirty. So I'm like, that's false. I'm like, I could piss again. Like, I'm 30 days out this. Why? I can wait to smoke if I want to smoke. Like, I ain't been smoking nothing. It don't make no sense for me to piss Thursday clean. They only to come in here Tuesday to piss dirty. So I'm going back and forth with them. They wasn't trying to hear it, so they told me that they was reprimanding me back to custody. I said, that's out. I snatched the ankle monitor off right there, threw that, walked them out of the program, went on the run for like 6 months. They called me in Vegas. I come back from Vegas gambling, just hit Vegas for like 20 bands. Come back, get caught on a freeway traffic stop.
After finally regaining his freedom, Ant would slowly begin building a name for himself online in 2023, releasing not only rap music videos, but also commentary content centered around gang culture and LA street politics.
By these Mexicans, bro. How are you allowing that and you talking about y'all gangbangers and you is tough? You quick to put that blick on it, look like you feel me, talk like you feel me, got your background. But what about the other bro? You know what I'm saying? Ain't no picking and choosing. If you gonna die for this, you gonna be out here about this, bro.
The following year, in 2024, his work would finally begin to pay off, and combined with the reputation he'd already built for himself in the streets of LA, Ant would start attracting some real attention, making music together with popular LA rappers like Big Sad, and landing appearances on live performance channels, even getting major platforms like the Street TV YouTube channel, where he was interviewed by Munchie B, who would later become one of Ant's co-hosts at No Jumper. And speaking of No Jumper, the following year in 2025, that's when Ant would finally receive his big break in podcasting. After doing an interview with Adam22 in May of that year, Ant became a regular on the channel, even getting a permanent position on the No Jumper show.
And for the people at home, if you're not familiar with Ant Jefe, he has a dope YouTube channel that everybody should go subscribe to. He also raps, drops music left and right, and we just did our first interview, which I think the first clip of it came out today, or you can go to the members only section, $5 a month, you watch the whole thing right now. So I after we did that interview, I was like, you know what? These guys are obvious choice. We got to get them on here and see what the vibe is like, because that interview was real fun. We had a lot of real good conversations.
Definitely a good vibe.
Eventually, he would become somewhat of a fan favorite, with viewers affectionately dubbing him the Alter Eagle after he accidentally mispronounced the term alter ego during one of his live streams.
I might come up in that thing in a white beater. It is what it is. You know what I'm saying? I don't practice no proper etiquette. I'm not reading no textbooks. When I get on camera, I don't have an alter ego, none of that. I don't have an alter ego podding dude on camera and then get off camera and be somebody else.
Ant's wholesome mispronunciations would lead to several legendary catchphrases over the last couple of years. And while he was making moves in the podcasting game, he also kept on releasing music and steadily growing the catalogue of videos on his YouTube channel, where he continued speaking on LA street politics, although now from a far more mainstream and grown-up perspective, as well as covering ongoing drama and news within the rap industry. Ant's channel grew very quickly due to his popularity amongst the No Jumper fanbase, and at the time of his arrest, he had surpassed over 50,000 subscribers. But coming into 2026, a tragic incident would take place that might just destroy everything that Ant Jefe was able to build after he got out of prison the last time. On May the 18th, 2026, Ant Jefe would allegedly post a video to social media in which he spoke about having an extremely bad day. The true reason behind that video still being unclear at this point. But after what happened next, that video would suddenly become the subject of countless theories and speculation online.
What's the good old deal with the good old people, man? Today was not a good day, bro. Today was one of those bad days, man, where the devil was working hard, man. He was at work, man. And he was this close, man. He was this close. This close to cashing in on wishful thinking. So right now, right, I'm in a phase where I'm trying to regroup, you know what I'm saying? And think things through, man, and just, create the space to be calm and copacetic, you know what I'm saying, through the storm, you know what I'm saying? But hopefully y'all had a good day up out there, though, man, on this Monday, man, you know what I'm saying? To anybody day who was bad like mine, we gonna make it through, champ, you know what I'm saying? As long as we make it through the next day, man, we gotta, you know what I'm saying, we got another chance, man, to recharge, man, and regroup, man. Salute. Stay strong.
Because the very next day, on the 19th of May, Ant would be arrested by the LAPD on felony murder charges, together with another alleged 8-Tray Gangsta Crip member, Johnny Gray, reportedly known in the streets as North Face. That same day, the No Jumper show was scheduled to air with Ant as one of the co-hosts, sparking speculation amongst the panel after he suddenly didn't show up and went completely radio silent.
Guys, can we address the elephant in the room real quick? Is Ant okay? What's up with the
I guess Ant's not picking up his phone. People have been trying to contact him, and he's not picking up his phone right now. It is almost 2 hours into the podcast.
This is unlike him.
And in addition to that, he was supposed to be here an hour before the podcast. So I would bet money that he got arrested or something, because
I don't know about that.
I don't want to wish it on him.
Yeah.
It's just like him being 3 hours late, phone off, not responding to anybody.
I don't know about arrested, but it's definitely like,
that's what I was thinking. I don't, but you don't want to speak. You know what I'm saying? But I saw thinking like,
up, Jesus Christ, you know what I'm saying?
I mean, yeah, or it could have been a family emergency. When his kids got sick, he could have been in the hospital or something like that.
if you call his phone and they go to voicemail, that's all bad.
Or he lost his phone.
Or he just somewhere with no service, that's the best. I don't want to.
But it is like, it's not like him. Even if he wasn't going to come, he would say something if he had the ability to do so.
Yeah.
I mean, he usually come in and his tire got popped.
But he would normally have texted by now and be like, yo, I'm finna be late. Da, 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 da. Like, it's not, he's very professional, bro. Like,
we leave here, I'm gonna hit his brother and see what's up with him.
yeah, hopefully he cool, you feel me? Like, shouts to the homie. We love Ant, man.
Yeah, love Ant.
This will already start some theories online, but the following day the internet would go wild when Ant's arrest was published by the LAPD on their database. This started an online frenzy, with TMZ seemingly breaking the news. This would be followed by all hip-hop and entertainment media reporting on the latest arrest of a No Jumper host. But almost as quickly as the arrest broke, a rumor mill began forming online over exactly which murder Ant Jefe had allegedly been charged with. One of the first people to push a theory that would go quickly viral was YouTuber Sedi Now, Gash, who dropped a video on May the 20th where he played a questionable clip of Ant accidentally admitting he did a shooting.
I don't know who this person is, but Hot Topics is pertaining to the shooting I did to other.
But he'd also bring up a rumor that he'd apparently come across online claiming that Ant Jefe might have been involved in the murder of Baby Huey, real name Jabari Henley, the son of infamous Big U, the alleged leader of the Rollin 60 Crips, who himself had been indicted in 2025 on federal RICO and murder charges. His son Huey was killed months after his arrest on Halloween of 2025.
But I just got some breaking news, bruh. They saying that allegedly, supposedly, Ant Jefe is the one who killed Big U's son, Baby Huey.
69th and Fig, 69th and Fig. This guy just got shot and killed. 77th Division.
It had been about 50 vloggers that uncovered this situation. This the hottest thing on social media. Every day it's a new element, a new something that happened. Oh, it's gonna be a gang war. Oh, they probably did it. Oh, this what happened. So it's just like that's a neutral spot. All type of people, everybody hang out.
Boy, if this is true, if he's the one who did that, who pulled that off, bruh, it's gonna be an ugly summer. Y'all stay the hell out of LA.
And this theory was discussed by the likes of Whack 100 on his Clubhouse show. But from the very beginning, there seemed to be very little actual evidence supporting this theory beyond the fact that the Rollin 60s and 8-Tray Gangsta Crips are known to have a long-running and extremely deadly rivalry. And this rumor was practically immediately replaced by another rumor claiming that Ant had instead been involved in the murder of an alleged Five Deuce Pueblo Bishop Blood member known as Lil Bandit, real name Deshaun Coleman, who was killed after an argument begun in front of a taco stand near the corner of Slauson and Holmes in the early morning hours of May the 17th, 2026.
The LAPD says there was an argument just before the gunfire, and it all unfolded just steps away from a busy taco stand.
Telemundo 52 spoke with the brother of the man who was killed. I also spoke with one man who was working at the taco stand last night. He told me he heard about 7 to 8 gunshots.
We don't know nothing. All we know, we need justice. He was a good person, a loving person. He took care of everybody.
We hear some people yelling, like yelling bad words, start fighting.
Did you hear the gunshots?
Yeah, I hear the gunshots. I hear like 7 gunshots.
This rumor would seemingly take off on Reddit before being spread by numerous popular YouTubers, with one of the most detailed narratives coming from the former No Jumper host, Poetic Flacco.
So young Ant Jefe is at the taco stand, minding his business, trying to get some tacos, trying to eat. A Pablo Blood pull up. I think like ain't the Pablos from like 5'4" or 5 Deuce, who knows, right? But the Pablo Blood pull up. Instantly, an altercation breaks out. He starts to bang on young Ant Jefe. Where you from, Blood? And Jefe, I'm from 8-Tray Gangsta Crib. Cool. That should have been the end of it. Now, young Ant Jefe did something that I think we should all do. Young Ant Jefe walks away. Gets back into his car. Now, when young Ant Jefe gets back into his car, the Pablo Blood follows young Ant Jefe to his car. Now, I guess when young Ant Jefe is going back to his car, the Pablo Blood probably feels like he got the best of the situation, and he wanted to get the best of Mo. So he follows young Ant Jefe to the car. When I walk back to my car, I'm in my car, I'm trying to leave, you right here. I don't know what you reaching for. You yelling aggressively. And young Ant Jefe just had enough, man. Just had enough. Pulled out the pistol, shot about 7 to 8 times. Bro got hit, bro died. And now we're here. Allegedly, because he's still fighting the case, he could be completely innocent. This could have all been a misunderstanding. So allegedly, people, allegedly.
Now, it's not clear at this point where Flacco got his information, but that entire story would end up being a pure fabrication. And already the following day, there would be a completely new rumor that had nothing to do with the taco stand incident. As No Jumper host Remo uploaded a video on Instagram, he claimed he had spoken to Ant's family, who allegedly revealed the real reason behind the arrest, an alleged DP gone wrong. A DP is short for disciplinary action or a discipline. This is essentially a violent beatdown carried out against a member of your own gang for breaking the rules. According to the rumor, this DP had taken place months earlier, had unfortunately gotten out of control and ultimately ended with the victim losing his life.
Yo, just an update on the Ant Jefe situation. I know a lot of rumors have been hitting the internet. Everyone's trying to say that young Ant Jefe was actually involved with the shooting at a taco stand. I'm not sure about that. From what I'm hearing that young Ant Jefe was actually arrested from a situation that stemmed from like a few months back. I'm hearing it was like a DP gone wrong where, I don't know, maybe somebody in his clique got DP'd, but in the midst of the dude getting a DP, someone actually passed away during the DP, and that is actually what Ant Jefe supposedly, allegedly is arrested for. I'm hearing that is not for the shooting. You know, a lot of people have been on record saying that it was actually him. He shot a guy a few times at the taco stand and related to some blood incident. I'm hearing that those are two different separate incidents from what I'm hearing in my sources. But, you know, free young Ant Jefe. Shout out to everybody involved, you know, my condolences to everybody. But, yeah, I don't think Ant Jefe was actually involved with that shooting that everyone's trying to say with the blood guy from PB or wherever. But it was actually from a situation that stemmed from a few months back. And I think if you can read if you see the videos, you can see Ant Jefe kind of was going through it where you could say he had a hard day. So I think Ant Jefe kind of knew the feds, or not the feds, but the police was actually on to him. He kind of knew about the situation in advance. But free Ant Jefe, man, for real, man.
Flacco would also correct his earlier claims, uploading a new video where he discussed the DP rumor while also playing security footage from the taco stand shooting that had been the scene of the previous rumor. The footage did appear to show the incident in question taking place, although Ant Jefe himself didn't appear to be in the video. However, Flacco would still suggest that one of the cars parked outside the taco stand might have belonged to Ant, and that it's possible that he might have been present during that murder.
The question of the day is, did Ant Jefe commit this murder? Well, to answer that question, let's take a look at the footage of the murder. This car right here may or may not have been one of the vehicles that Ant Jefe used to drive to No Jumper. This right here is the gentleman that was shot and killed. This guy right here is about to get punched. Now, when he gets punched, the person who was shot and killed, they all began to move forward. Now, when they begin to move forward, somebody comes from around the car and started shooting. Hits him, he falls and dies. Then they chase somebody around this vehicle, but they couldn't shoot them and the person goes away.
But the real exclusive would once again come from TMZ, who would post that same day the name of the victim, Carl Welch, and also reporting that he had died in a parking lot from blunt force trauma, and that the alleged date of the murder was the 31st of January 2026. These pieces of information supported claims of a DP gone wrong in a parking lot where the body was found as a result of blunt force trauma, but now that the alleged real incident was out in the open, online detectives immediately went to work, and it didn't take long before Reddit and other social media sites were flooded with photos of the victim, whose real name was Carl Terrell Welch. In the streets of LA, he was apparently known as Lil LowDown, an alleged member of the 8-Tray Gangsta Crips. This information seemingly confirmed that Ant Jefe was indeed accused of being present during the fatal beating of a member of his own gang. Soon, a video began circulating on social media that was claimed to show a bystander recording the alleged beatdown, low-quality footage capturing a group of individuals seemingly punching and kicking someone lying on the ground. However, the location in the video didn't seem to match the parking lot location where the body was allegedly found. The location of the murder was just released in police paperwork that broke down the whole series of events as it happened. The paperwork would break down the alleged DP gone wrong that led to the murder exactly as it happened, stating, on January the 31st, 2026, at approximately 10:25 p.m., LAPD patrol officers responded to reports of an assault in progress at 6916 Southwestern Avenue, and the LAPD would arrive with the LA Fire Department, finding the victim dead in the parking lot with trauma to his face, abrasions, as well as swelling near his eyes. Detectives marked 6 pieces of evidence in the crime scene, which were 5 pieces of broken jewelry and 1 set of veneers. The victim was found laying in the parking lot shirtless, with serious facial traumas, close to his own vehicle, a black 2006 Cadillac Escalade. The victim was identified at the scene as Carl Welch, and his cell phone and ID were recovered from the scene by the coroner, who also noted 8-Tray gang tattoos on the victim's body. The victim's girlfriend would appear at the scene distraught, allegedly under the influence of drugs or alcohol, explaining that the victim was assaulted by their own gang. Detectives would go on to recover uncover surveillance video from the crime scene, which captured the victim arriving at the parking lot around 6:20 p.m. The first suspect arrives around 7 p.m., followed by more suspects who arrive and congregate with the victim for about 10 minutes until the assault occurred at approximately 9:45 p.m. It appeared the victim did know his killers, and surveillance video then captured the victim being assaulted by multiple suspects who he'd been speaking to in the parking lot, and at one point, one suspect kicks the victim continually in the head while he's on the ground. Video surveillance would also capture the suspects opening and searching the victim's vehicle while he lay unconscious and removing the victim's property from his car. All suspects would then flee in multiple vehicles, leaving the victim to be discovered deceased by the fire department at 10:34 p.m. The victim's wife would explain to detectives that the victim worked at a cannabis shop and that he would hold onto rent money in a bag inside his vehicle. Detectives would confirm two suspects from the surveillance video, one being Johnny Gray, aka Northface, as well as identifying his 2007 Lexus that was registered to him that he drove to and from the scene. Cell phone records would indicate that he had actually fled LA to Las Vegas the day after the homicide, using his own car to do so. Detectives would also identify Maurice Shellman, aka Ant Jefe, as arriving to the scene in a white Range Rover, and according to detectives, the footage appeared to show Ant appearing to intervene in an argument between an unidentified suspect and the victim before the fight. Ant would then be captured striking the victim with his hands while the victim was laying on the ground. Ant would then return to his vehicle and speak with a male identified as Irvin Theus, who was sitting in the driver's seat of a gold Mercedes parked next to the victim's car. Ant would then be observed on video pointing towards Welch's vehicle, followed by Theus exiting his Mercedes, approaching the victim's vehicle and removing what appeared to be a black backpack from the rear seat, which he then took and handed right back to Ant Jefe, and detectives would claim that from the video surveillance, it appeared obvious to them that Theus was acting under Ant Jefe's sole direction. But this is where the story would take an even darker turn, as a growing digital paper trail left across social media by people who seemingly knew Lil LowDown begun to point towards a growing internal beef within the 8-Tray gangster Crips and people that were close to the gang. One friend of Lil LowDown made numerous posts criticizing the current state of leadership and structure within the 8-Tray, as well as calling the members disloyal and claiming that they were more willing to attack their own friends than their actual ops. He would also note how there had been no candlelight vigil or funeral service organized by the gang, and not even any donations to the family, before cryptically adding how Lil LowDown didn't deserve what happened to him, nor did 4 others who had seemingly trusted someone within the gang before losing their lives. In a post that's since been deleted, he would also say that people should be outraged, arguing that this situation should have been handled differently in order to find the best resolution for everyone involved. He would then appear to direct his message specifically to those people who were responsible for beating Lil LowDown to death, calling them fools, consumed by what he described as big homie killer energy, something that he claimed had now led to their downfall. In another deleted post, he would also criticize the older leaders of the gang for standing by silently while internal turmoil continued to spiral out of control, and he would accuse certain figures of failing to provide proper leadership, also hinting at a long-standing betrayal and unresolved internal conflicts within the gang that were now spilling into the public's view, while the leaders apparently lacked any plans to resolve these internal issues, being themselves consumed by greed, envy, and jealousy. Meanwhile, as Ant Jefe and his co-defendant were moving through the court system, their situation would change from bad to worse, because as mentioned earlier, while Ant would originally start out with a hefty $1 million bond, this was soon more than doubled, his bond now standing just over $2 million, while Johnny Gray's bond would pass $2.5 million, essentially making it sure that neither are likely to get out on bond anytime soon, also giving the impression that the prosecution might have some pretty convincing evidence against the two. One theory would come from another No Jumper host, Wack 100, who's in recent years specialized in talking about court cases involving rappers on Clubhouse. According to Wack, Ant may have been the one who called Lil LowDown to the location, essentially setting up the beating that would allegedly take place and ultimately lead to the murder charges. Wack would also go on to say that while it may be difficult for prosecutors to prove that Ant knew the victim was going to die beforehand, the feds could instead be leaning on California's 3 strikes law in an attempt to put Ant away for good, something that his earlier convictions create a serious risk for. Wack would also speculate that someone from Ant's own hood might have ultimately provided the feds with information about Ant allegedly setting the victim up.
The word out immediately was a DP went bad. So they're going to say, Ant Jefe, you put the call in to the dude to lure him down to this place where this situation was going to happen. Damn, Wack. Well, if Ant Jefe just called him down for a DP and lured him to the spot, and he happened to die during the DP, that ain't really a type murder. You're right. Hard to get it on a premeditated first degree murder 1, murder 2 on something like you would say, well, Wack, maybe that's a manslaughter because maybe he didn't have the intent, right? I hear you. This is why they factored in the 3 strikes clause. Somebody from his neighborhood is telling the police, and Jefe called dude down there. This is an internal thing. The only people involved is A-Tray gangsters.
One of Ant's friends, on the other hand, would post a video accusing Ant's co-host Munchie B of telling on Ant, as he would supposedly have the most to gain from Ant going to prison.
Is this just a hee-ha moment for the red team? I think Munchie B told on Ant. His blind, he do all the talking. You know, they say when one sense leaves, the other sense enhances. Munchie on the real. The OG Wax said they had 4 months to investigate. Who was with Ant all the time? Munchie was.
Meanwhile, Ant's younger brother, called NBA2, would post a video on his Instagram swearing on his brother's innocence.
80 Crib in his bed, bashing on Crib, you already know, Madbone, Monster, Madbone, Crib, NBA2, slam. Free my big bro, young Ant Jefe, don't give a f about number of the check, say, they look to my brother innocent. On Normally, on my daughter Herbie, I know for sure. Keyway, Cubby home, you know what it is, Northside, for sure, feeling cuz on their dead homies.
But there have also been some shocking revelations coming out surrounding the victim himself, as some Reddit users have uncovered records showing that Carl Welch had previously been convicted in connection to a gang case and was listed on the offender registry. This development caused many people online to lash out against those that had been vilifying Ant on social media, and there would also be developments that likely shocked those that didn't know anything about LA street politics, as none other than Afro Man would come out publicly to show support for Ant Jefe. Interestingly enough, Afro Man actually also hails from A-Tray's hood and seemingly reps the gang to this day. Now at the moment, this case is still in its earliest stages, and with just how chaotic the information surrounding it has been so far, it's impossible to say how the story will ultimately end, as new details could emerge at any moment that completely change our understanding of what really happened that day. But if there's one lesson that seems to come repeatedly out of stories like this, it's that once someone finally manages to build a real career and legit future for themselves outside of the streets, the smartest thing they can possibly do is put as much distance between themselves and that former life as they can, even if that means leaving old friends and loyalties and traditions like DPs behind. Because as this case might prove once again, the streets always have a way of pulling people back in, no matter how far they seem to have made it, and if you fall back into these old patterns, it only takes one mistake to lose your life or your freedom forever.